The function of directional control valves is to control the flow path of the hydraulic oil. This is a two-way valve with its circuit symbol. It has 2 ports and 2 switching positions, which is where it gets its name. And this is how it works. In one of the 2 switching positions, the flow of hydraulic oil is blocked. In the other, it's opened. For example, a two-way valve is used in this elevating platform. It opens the connection between the single-acting cylinder and the tank. The external load can then return the cylinder piston to the lower end position. As its name says, a two-way valve also has 2 switching positions but 3 ports. For example, 1 to the pump, 1 to the drive unit, and 1 to the reservoir. In this valve, the port to the pump is blocked when the valve is in its normal position. When the valve is actuated, the hydraulic oil can flow to the cylinder. The piston advances. When the valve is released, the flow of oil is stopped. In our example, an external force presses the piston back into its retracted end position and the hydraulic oil to the reservoir, because the port to the reservoir is now open. Here's a practical example. If the two-way valve is reversed, oil can flow from the single-acting cylinder, in this case the plunger of the platform lift, to the tank. The cylinder retracts. This is a two-way valve, a valve with 4 ports and 2 switching positions. An additional working port has been added here. Depending on the switching position, a two-way valve directs the flow of pressure oil to one of the 2 working ports. This means that this valve can be used, for example, to control a double-acting cylinder. In this switching position, the hydraulic oil is directed to the left-hand chamber and the piston advances. The oil from the right-hand chamber flows via the two-way valve to the tank. If the valve is reversed, both flow paths for the oil are reversed. The piston retracts again. In this switching position, the cylinder is advanced when the valve is in its normal position. When the valve is actuated, the cylinder retracts. That's the case here, for example. When the excavator shovel is opened. With this two-way valve, it's just the other way around. In its normal position, the cylinder is retracted. When it's actuated, the cylinder advances. This valve differs from the two-way valve in that it has 3 switching positions. It's a three-way valve. When this valve is in the mid position, all of the ports are blocked, which means it has a positive piston overlap. This term describes what happens when the valve piston is in the mid position. With this valve, the motion of the piston can be stopped or reversed at any point. It can also stop a hydraulic motor and, of course, change its direction of rotation. This is the circuit symbol for a 4-3-way valve with positive piston overlap. With this 4-3-way valve, we have a negative piston overlap. As we can see, the supply and exhaust ports are not closed by the pilot piston in the mid position. All lines are interconnected. Negative piston overlap like this is needed, for example, when the piston of a double-acting cylinder is to be moved by an external force. This only works because the left and right-hand chambers of the piston are almost completely unpressurized. We can also have positive and negative piston overlap within one multi-position valve. The combination used is determined by the application. In the valve represented by this circuit symbol, the function has the same effect on the drive units. It stops them. But the pressure port to the pump and the reservoir return line are connected. This means that when the 4-3-way valve is in the mid position, the pump doesn't have to build up any system pressure. This experiment illustrates another characteristic of directional control valves, switching overlap. This characteristic determines how a valve will behave during switching. Here we have a valve with positive switching overlap, which means that during the transition from one switching position to the other, the ports remain blocked and are not opened until the end position has been reached. This has the effect of maintaining system pressure during the switching process, so that a drive under load does not momentarily sink. The drive unit starts abruptly. The circuit symbol shows this clearly. Switching overlap is noted to the right and left of mid-position in the broken line box. And here the ports are closed. The case is different with negative switching overlap. During the switching process, all ports are briefly connected with each other. We've already mentioned that in a double-acting cylinder with a ratio of approximately 2:1 between the effective piston surface areas, the piston retracts almost twice as fast as it advances, but providing only about half the force. To make advance and retraction the same, a 3-2-way valve can be used to set up a differential circuit. The line to the piston rod chamber is not connected to the valve, as is normally the case, but is connected to the pressure line between the pump and valve. As we can see, this means that the rod side is always under full system pressure. When the valve is actuated, the pump builds up pressure in the left-hand chamber as well. The piston moves because the effective piston surface area on this side is larger than on the other. This causes additional oil to be pushed from the right-hand chamber into the left. So we get a higher flow rate consisting of the pump delivery and the recirculated oil. Since both have the same flow rate, the piston advances at twice the speed, making advance and return speed the same, but only with half the force. This is a differential circuit with a 4-3-way valve and mid-position bypass. In this switching position, the piston retracts rapidly. The first phase of advance is also rapid, because this is where the differential circuit takes effect. In the second phase, the piston continues to advance, but only half as fast. In practice, this means that a tool can advance rapidly, do its work slowly, and retract rapidly. This shortens machine cycle times.